Poverty is a calamity in any society. It limits potential, it destroys opportunities, it forces people to focus on survival instead of growth. In many ways, poverty is a prison that traps millions of people in cycles of struggle, uncertainty, and constant pressure. No one dreams of being poor. No parent wishes it for their children. And yet, there is a question we rarely dare to ask. Is it possible that poverty, despite all its cruelty, can shape something valuable in a person? Let me be clear. Poverty is not something to glorify. It is painful, unfair, and often deeply destructive, a real plague. But sometimes struggle forces people to develop strengths that comfort never demands. And today, I want to explore that uncomfortable idea. So, is there any hidden advantage in growing up poor? The first thing I think about is that poverty teaches you to see the world differently. When you grow up with very little, you become aware of reality very early in life. You quickly understand something that many people only discover much later. Nothing comes easily, and if you want to change your situation, then effort is necessary. Because of that, many young people who grow up in difficult conditions develop a mindset focused on survival, discipline, and long-term thinking. When you see financial struggles around you every day, you naturally become more conscious about how you spend money, how opportunities appear, and how fragile stability can be. And perhaps most importantly, you understand that money cannot solve every problem. So you learn something else. You learn how to think. You learn how to fix things instead of replacing them. You learn how to adapt instead of complaining. And you learn how to create solutions instead of simply buying them. When resources are limited, creativity becomes necessary. That is usually what we call being resourceful. It is the ability to do more with less. And surprisingly, this is one of the most valuable skills in life. Because the world changes constantly, and the people who adapt the fastest are often the ones who once had the least. The second thing I think poverty can create is something invisible: resilience. When life is comfortable, challenges often feel like interruptions. But when life has always been difficult, challenges feel normal for you because you are already used to them. So you learn to keep moving, even when things are uncertain, even when the road is unclear, even when your progress is as slow as a snail. In fact, when someone faces hardship early in life, they are forced to deal with obstacles sooner than others. And over time, that experience can create a powerful belief. If I manage to survive that, then I can survive this as well. And that belief can become a quiet source of strength. But at the same time, we should also know that hardship does not affect everyone the same way. For some people, struggle becomes a source of motivation, when for others, it can become discouraging. The difference often depends on support, opportunities, and mainly on personal mindset. That's why it is vital to have the right mindset. But we are not here to talk about that today, maybe another day. And by the way, if you enjoy reflecting on ideas like this, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. So let's continue. Another important effect of poverty is the way it shapes ambition. When you know what it feels like to lack resources, you may develop a strong desire to change your life. And so, a quiet voice appears in your mind, and you start telling yourself, this cannot be the end of my story. That voice can push somebody to study harder, to work longer, and imagine possibilities beyond the current situation. We already know many innovators, creators, and entrepreneurs who started with very little, not because poverty encouraged them, but because the absence of opportunity forced them to think differently. Sometimes when the door is closed, people start looking for ways to build their own. They just create their own opportunities. Yes, they create their own opportunities from scratch, because the situation of lacking they were living in forced them to become creative. And so this is also one thing that can be shaped by poverty in a person's mind as well. Creativity. When resources are limited, people rarely have the luxury of simple solutions. They must improvise, they reuse things, they find alternatives. They think outside the box. In other words, financial pressure often forces people to develop strong problem-solving skills and adaptability, and these skills can become extremely valuable later in life, because many successful ventures begin with exactly the following mindset: finding solutions where others only see limitations. Another interesting aspect of growing up with very little money is the relationship people develop with it. When you have seen how hard it is to earn money, you rarely see it as something casual. You become more careful, more conscious about spending, more aware of how small financial improvements can change daily life. A stable income, a little savings, a small opportunity, a stable job, a peaceful evening, a simple meal shared with people you care about. These things may seem ordinary to some people, but for someone who has experienced lack and financial instability, they carry a different meaning. And this often leads to something powerful, which is gratitude, the ability to appreciate small things. When someone has always had everything, it is easy to take things for granted. But when you have experienced lack, small things start to matter. Because you fight to get them, they carry a different weight. Then gratitude becomes natural, and gratitude has a strange effect on life. It makes ordinary moments feel meaningful. At this stage, I think we must also talk about the real difficulties, because poverty is not a romantic story. It creates serious obstacles, limited opportunities, stress about basic needs, and often fewer educational resources. Sometimes young people must work early to support their families, and when that happens, the time available for studies, learning, or personal development becomes smaller. Poverty can also affect confidence. Society often judges people based on their financial situation, and unfortunately, those judgments can make people doubt their own potential. In addition to that, poverty can limit exposure to opportunities. A young person might not have access to quality education, mentorship, networks, or resources that help develop their talents. Sometimes dreams start to look unrealistic, not because the dream is impossible, but because survival becomes the immediate priority. Still, poverty does not eliminate dreams. In some cases, it can make them even stronger. So in reality, the starting point is simply different. People who grow up with financial stability often have greater access to education, guidance, and connections. Their path may be smoother, but starting with nothing can sometimes create something else: determination. The road may be longer, it may be harder, but success can still be possible with persistence, learning, and opportunities. And in many cases, difficult beginnings shape strong character. When someone faces hardship early in life, they often develop qualities that comfort rarely teaches. Qualities like patience, humility, resilience, responsibility, and gratitude. These qualities, over time, they can become powerful strengths. Many people who grow up in difficult circumstances develop a deep sense of purpose, a desire not only to improve their own lives, but also to create something meaningful for others. So, is there an advantage in growing up poor? Not exactly. Poverty creates real obstacles. It limits education, stability, and access to opportunities. What we are really talking about are the strengths people develop in response to hardship. Strengths that emerge not because poverty is good, but because human beings are incredibly adaptable. Sometimes struggle teaches lessons that comfort never does. It teaches resilience, it teaches creativity, it teaches appreciation, and sometimes it teaches people how to build a future that once seemed impossible. The real advantage is not poverty, but what some people manage to become in spite of it. If this idea made you reflect in a different way, let me ask you something. Do you think difficult beginnings can shape stronger people, or do they mostly create unnecessary obstacles? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring ideas like this about growth, mindset, and human potential, consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video if not done yet. See you in the next video. Cheers.